So my husband, Ashley Heath, was a BBC journalist, a radio journalist with the local BBC Wiltshire, a job he absolutely adored. So one night we were sound asleep, everything had been a normal day, and I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning to my husband having a seizure, which was very unexpected. Taken to the emergency room, and then they ordered the usual tests for those types of things, and sadly they discovered that he had a small brain tumour. And he was very lucky to be operated very quickly after that, and that began what ended up being a 5.5-year journey into glioblastoma multiforme 4. Now, Prospect was involved on and off throughout those 5.5 years. I mean, early on when he was having treatment at the Great Western Hospital, we did have contact with Prospect about future plans and making sure that we had the correct information with our GP of what Ash's wishes were should that we get to that point. I think Ash was very grateful for that, but they became heavily involved, obviously, in the last year of his life as he became more disabled and the illness took its toll. Yeah, he was able to be cared for at home. He was cared for pretty much by me, and he was quite lucky that it wasn't until the last 6 months of his life that he was really mobile and self-sufficient. But the Prospect at Home people came in very quickly, which to begin with was about 3 times a week, and then as it progressed and he became, we ended up in a hospital bed in the living room. They were there near the end 3 times a day. Yes, yeah. Ashley was very clear from the very beginning that he did not want to die at home. So he was very clear that he wanted to be in the Prospect Hospice should there be room. Gratefully there was. And very clear also that he wanted me to be his wife at the end of it, because I had had such a long journey caring for him, and he really wanted the caring responsibility to be taken off of me as it came to the end, and that I could just hold his hand. And Ashley had, throughout his journey, he had been referred to a variety of different counsellors. And if you had known my husband, you would know that it would take a very particular counsellor that was going to break through the stubbornness of my husband. But Dave was wonderful because he talked about what Ashley wanted to talk about. He would just call Ash and just chat. And you know, of course, Ash was unwell. He knew what the outcome was. He just wanted somebody who treated him normally, who was his friend. And I think Dave being able to gauge that was the right approach for Ash was fabulous. And Dave also called me and was fabulous with me. So yeah, he was really instrumental in everything very smoothly working towards the end. Yeah, it was excellent. It actually happened very quickly. We had a lovely Christmas, and then we had a fairly, quiet New Year's Eve. Ash fell asleep as normal. But on the 2nd of January, I couldn't wake him up. And I immediately called the Prospect at Home, and they were out really right away. And they determined that there had been a change and that it was time. And I was so lucky that there was a bed available. And they settled him in quite nicely, and I came along in the afternoon. And then from there, yeah, he was in the same room with the same people and was really well cared for. But like any people who were fairly youngish, he was only 55, he wasn't going to let go that easily, and what people anticipated was going to be a matter of days ended up being a 3-week journey. I think the thing I was worried about was, number one, would I know when he was gone? And I was so lucky that one of the nurses here, I asked her very clearly, and she gave me signs of when he would be really breathing his last few. And she was spot on. I mean, nailed it. So I was worried about that. So once I had an idea of what was going to happen, that was fine. And the second thing is, how are you going to react? This was the first time I'd ever been in the room when someone had died. And you don't know how you're going to feel. And the way that he went was unexpectedly beautiful. Prospect is so important because without the funding that they get, they may not be there should you need it in the future, or they may not be able to offer all the services that they currently offer, like that incredibly important at-home service, because you may wish to not come into Prospect, you may wish to be at home or have your loved one be at home. they may not be able to have enough beds available for everyone in the community that requires it. And it would be terrible if your loved one needed a bed and they had to cut services because of lack of funding. So yes, vastly and incredibly important to the community.